All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our Major League Baseball video here today. For Friday, June 11th, my name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Now guys, we're feeling pretty good here today because like I said in my earlier video here today, we got completely back on track yesterday with a monster 4-1 day on my Patreon website. We're also 7-1 in our last 8 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon page. And the good news is we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. We currently have over 1,025 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. With that, guys, we're going to start off with the Giants versus the Nats, 7:05 Eastern start time. The Washington Nationals are -175, total 7.5. Max Scherzer for Washington, Anthony DeSclafani for San Francisco. Now, DeSclafani's 5-2 with a 3.51 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP. The first place Giants are 15 games above 500 right now, and they got the W in 7 out of their last 10. The Giants are in the top 3 in fewest walks allowed. They're also allowing just 3.6 runs a game. They're taking on a Washington club who's 8 games below 500. They have a losing record on their home field. This Washington lineup scores just 3.8 runs per contest. When it comes to the scoring in this one, the Nationals saw 20 out of their last 28 home games stay under the line. Washington is officially 39-19 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants +1.5 and the under 7.5 runs. Next game, Rockies versus the Reds, 7:10 Eastern first pitch. Reds are -205, numbers 9. Tyler Mahle for Cincinnati, Kyle Freeland for Colorado. Now, Freeland's still looking for his first win of the season. He comes into today's start with more walks than strikeouts. The lefty also has a 6.23 ERA and a 2.08 WHIP. Colorado leads the league in road losses. The Rockies are a pitiful 5-24 straight up as the away team. And they successfully cashed in on the run line in just 31% of those contests. Colorado's dead last in road hits, and they're scoring just 2.5 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a Cincinnati club who's won 7 out of their last 10 themselves. This Reds pitching staff's in the top 5 in strikeouts per 9. They also have Tyler Mahle on the bump here today. 5-2 record with a 3.32 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP. Now, the righties struck out 72 batters in just over 62 innings pitched. When it comes to the total in this one, Cincinnati's 20-9 to the over at the Great American Ballpark, 38-22 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Cincinnati Reds -1.5 and the over 9 runs. Next contest, it is going to be, I don't know how we got messed up here. Next contest, Padres Mets, 7:10 East. Mets are -170, number 6. DeGrom for New York, Snell for San Diego. Snell's got a 4.83 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP. The Padres have also got themselves a losing record against National League competition on the road, and they also lost their last 3 straight road games. They're taking on a first-place Mets club who's 15-5 straight up on their home field. They've also gone 13-3 straight up at Citi Field against their fellow National Leaguers. New York's currently leading the majors in fewest hits allowed at home. They're also giving up just 1.9 runs a game in Flushing, Queens. Jacob deGrom is 5-2 on the season with a .62 ERA. He's also struck out 97 batters in just 58 innings. He currently has a WHIP of just .57. Total-wise, New York's gone 16-4 to the under at Citi Field. Meanwhile, San Diego's last 3 road games all stayed under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets -170 and the under 6 runs. Next ball game, I don't know how we got mixed up on the big screen here. But it is going to be Braves Marlins 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. The Atlanta Braves are minus 120, total 7 juice to the over. Charlie Morton for Atlanta, Sandy Alcantara for Miami. Now Alcantara's got a 3.30 ERA and a 1.06 WHIP. The righties struck out 74 batters already. The Fish have won 3 out of their last 5 ball games. And that includes putting up an 11 spot against Colorado. And not only does Miami have a winning record at Lone Depot Park, they also have a winning record against divisional opponents. Miami's in the top 5 in fewest hits allowed at home. They give up just 3.2 runs per contest as the home team. They're taking on a Braves club who lost their last 2 straight. They also have a losing record in divisional play. Atlanta's just 6-7 straight up against the NL East on the road. And they've gotten the W in just 14 out of 30 contests against the division at any location. This Atlanta pitching staff's in the bottom 10 in runs allowed, bottom 10 in hits allowed. Charlie Morton also comes into today's start with a non-impressive 4.21 ERA. Now, total-wise, Atlanta's gone 33-27 to the over for the entire season. Miami saw 2 out of their last 3 home games get over the line themselves. The Marlins also went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games at any location. I'm going to lean toward the Miami Marlins plus $1 and the over 7 runs. Next matchup, Orioles versus the Rays, 7:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 175 with a total at 7.5 runs. Ryan Yarbrough for Tampa, Keegan Aiken, for Baltimore. And despite some pretty decent stuff out of Aiken, he's still looking for his first win of the season. Now, the last place Orioles are currently 17 games below 500, and they have the fewest wins in the entire American League. Baltimore's in the bottom 3 in hits allowed, bottom 5 in road scoring. Now, this Orioles lineup is scoring just 3.6 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a first-place Tampa club who's 15 games above 500 themselves, and they got the W in 3 out of their last 4 outings. Now, the Rays are in the top 10 in striking batters out, and they allow only 3.2 runs a game at the trot. Ryan Yarbrough has a 3.95 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP. When it comes to the total on this one, Tampa's 5-4 to the under in their last 9 divisional games at home. Meanwhile, the O's are currently 18-11 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 175 and the under 7 and a hook. Next matchup, Mariners versus the Indians, 7:10 p.m. East. The Cleveland Indians are minus 170, totals 9. Aaron Savali for Cleveland, Justin Dunn for Seattle. Now, Dunn's got a 3.18 ERA along with 45 strikeouts in just over 45 innings of work. The Mariners have also been quite good against the run line here recently. They're 18-10 against the number in their road games against the American League. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who has a losing record against the number at home themselves. And they also dropped 3 out of their last 5 ball games. This Cleveland lineup's in the bottom 5 in offensive walks at the plate. They're also in the bottom 3 in hits on average per game. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Seattle's last 7 ball games stayed under the total of 9 runs, throwing out yesterday's game against Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Seattle Mariners plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be White Sox versus the Tigers, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago White Sox are minus 165, totals 8.5 juice to the under. Lucas Giolito for the Sox, Tarek Skubal for Detroit. Now, Skubal's just 3-7 thus far in the year. 4.33 ERA, 1.44 WHIP. The Tigers are also 10 games below 500, and they've been getting crushed by their divisional opponents. Out of Detroit's 32 divisional games this season, they've gotten the W just 11 times. The Tigers are in the bottom 3 in scoring on average per game, and they strike out 10.1 times per contest at the plate. They're taking on a first-place Chicago club who's 14 games above 500, and they rank in the top 3 in hits allowed. The Chicago pitching staff allows just 3.4 runs a game, and they rank in the top 5 in striking batters out on the road. Lucas Giolito comes into today's start with a 3.88 ERA and a 1.12 whip. Now, he's fanned 87 batters in just over 69 innings of work. When it comes to the total on this one, 7 out of Chicago's last 10 divisional games on the road got over the line. Meanwhile, 2 out of Detroit's last 4 home games got over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 165 and the over 8.5. Next contest, still in that 7 o'clock slate. I'm talking about the Blue Jays versus the Red Sox, 7:10 East. The Boston Red Sox are minus $1.20 at Fenway. Totals 9.5. Garrett Richards for the Bo Sox. Ross Stripling for Toronto. Now Stripling's just 2-3 on the year with a 4.71 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. The Blue Jays have a losing record within divisional competition this year. They also have a losing road record against American League competition as well. Now, in addition to all that, Toronto has lost 4 out of their last 6 ball games. They're taking on a Boston club who's 13 games above 500, and they also won 6 out of their last 8. Now, the Red Sox have been really good in divisional play as well. They're 15-6 straight up against the AL East, and their pitching staff's in the top 10 in strikeouts. Garrett Richards comes into today's start with 4 wins on the year and a 3.88 ERA. When it comes to the number in this one, Boston's gone 60% to the under in their last 10 ball games. Meanwhile, Toronto's seen 4 out of their last 5 road games stay under the line themselves, 70% to the under in their last 10 regardless of location. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox minus $1.20 and the under 9.5. Next matchup, Pirates versus the Brewers, 8:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 280, number 7.5. Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee, Chase DeYoung for Pittsburgh. Now DeYoung's got just 10 full innings under his belt this year. He's got a 5.40 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP. Now, the last place Pirates have the second fewest wins in the National League. They find themselves 15 games below 500. The Buccos have gotten the W in only 10 out of 29 road games this season. They also rank dead last in the league in scoring on average per contest. They're putting just 3.4 runners across the plate a game. Pittsburgh's taking on a first-place Milwaukee crew who's won 6 out of their last 7 ball games themselves. And equally as impressive, Milwaukee's also gone 11-2 in their last 13. Milwaukee's 33-22 against National League competition this year, and their pitching staff leads the majors in strikeouts. The Brewers are currently fanning 11 batters a game at Miller Park. Brandon Woodruff is responsible for 92 strikeouts thus far in the season, 4-2 record, and a stingy 1.42 ERA. Now the righty's also got himself a sub-1 ERA of just .74. A whip. That is a .74 whip. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee's 60% to the under in their last 10, 7-2 to the under in their last 9 divisional games at home, while the Pirates are 18-11 to the over. 18-11 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 and the under 7.5. Next game, Astros Twins, 8:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. Houston's minus 155, totals 10.5. Jose Urquidy for the Stros, Matt Shoemaker for Minnesota. Shoemaker's just 2-7 with a 7.28 ERA and a 1.58 WHIP. The last place Twins are a dozen games below 500, and they won just 13 out of 32 home games. Minnesota's in the bottom 3 in runs allowed, bottom 3 in striking batters out at home. They're taking on a Houston club who won 7 out of their last 10 themselves, and they rank in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed on the road. Jose Urquidy's 4-3 thus far in the season with a 3.76 ERA and a 1.07 WHIP. When it comes to the total on this one, Houston's gone 19-10 to the over on the road. Minnesota's 20-9 to the over at Target Field. And check this out, the Twins are also 40-16 to the over for the entire season. Lots of overs in these Minnesota games. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 155 and the over 10.5. Next game, Angels, Diamondbacks, 9:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Angels are minus 140, totals 9. Shohei Ohtani for the Angels, Merrill Kelly for Arizona. As bad as Kelly's been, he still has 62 strikeouts on the year, and he's only walked 19. The Arizona Diamondbacks have successfully cashed in on the run line in 3 out of their last 4 home games. They're also in the top 10 in home scoring, top 3 in home hits. Eduardo Escobar's hit 14 home runs and knocked in 41. He's currently in the top 15 in the bigs in both of those categories. Meanwhile, Ketel Marte is batting .365 with 14 ribbies and a dozen extra base hits. And of course, you got to remember Marte's missed over half the season, so pretty good numbers there. They're taking on an Angels club who still has a losing road record despite their recent success. The Angels have gotten the W in just 12 out of 28 road games, and they're on the bottom 5 in runs allowed per contest. This LA pitching staff also averages 3.9 walks a game. And if you like the Angels, if you think they're just going to go ahead and outscore Arizona here tonight, just keep in mind, LA doesn't score much on the road. They're actually averaging just 3.6 runs a game as the away team. Now, total-wise, the Angels are 35-27 to the over for the entire season. Arizona's 18-9 to the over at Chase Field. I'm going to lean toward the Arizona Diamondbacks plus 1.5 in the over 9 runs. Next ball game, Royals Athletics, 9:40 p.m. Eastern start time. The Oakland A's are minus 140, numbers 8.5 juice to the under. Cole Irvin for Oakland, Brady Singer for Kansas City. Now, Singer struck out 62 batters in just 59 innings of work. The Royals are in the top 5 in fewest hits allowed on the road. They're also in the top 10 in fewest runs allowed on the road as well. They're taking on an Oakland squad who's playing just .500 baseball at home against American League competition. This Oakland, let's try that again. This Oakland lineup is also in the bottom 3 in the league in home hits, and they're scoring just 3.8 runs a game at the Coliseum. As good as Cole Irvin's looked in many different spots this year, the lefty comes into today's matchup with a 4-7 record. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Oakland saw their last 4 straight home games stay under the line, 70% to the under in their last 10, regardless of location. Meanwhile, the Royals are 19-11 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be Rangers versus the Dodgers, 10:10 p.m. East. The LA Dodgers are minus 330, total 7.5. Clayton Kershaw for Los Angeles, Mike Foltynewicz for Texas. Now, Folty's just 1-6 thus far in the year. Somehow still has a job in the major leagues. I don't know how. 4.75 ERA, 1.34 WHIP. The last place Rangers are 15 games below 500. And they've taken the loss in 12 out of their last 14 contests. The Rangers have the fewest road wins in all of baseball. They're currently just 9-23 straight up when they bat first. And their pitching staff is dead last in the majors in hits allowed on the road. They're taking on a Dodger club who's on a 3-game winning streak, and they won 19 of 29 on their home field. The Dodgers pitchers lead the majors in fewest hits allowed per contest and fewest walks given up a game at home. Clayton Kershaw is 7-5 on the season with a 3.66 ERA and 86 strikeouts. The lefty also has a superb 1.01 WHIP. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Los Angeles' last 4 home games got over the line. 17-12 to the over at Dodger Stadium. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like San Francisco plus 1.5, under 7.5 runs. Cincinnati minus 1.5, over 9. New York Mets minus 170, under 6 runs. Miami Marlins plus $1, over 7. Tampa Bay minus 175, under 7.5. Seattle plus 1.5 under 9 runs. Chicago White Sox minus $1.65 over 8.5. Boston minus 120 under 9.5. Milwaukee minus 1.5 under 7.5 runs. Houston minus $1.55 over 10.5. Arizona plus 1.5 over 9 runs. Kansas City plus 1.5 under 8.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 7-1 in our last 8 NBA tier package picks on my Patreon website. And the good news is we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. Link for that pick is in the description section below. And we're also coming fresh off an amazing 4-in-1 day in our 5 premium sports picks on that Patreon website as well. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. And guys, as I normally say in most of my videos, if you found yourself really enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you're new here today or this week, please feel free to welcome yourself to the Brock Page betting community by hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd greatly appreciate it. But with that, guys, that is going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys do end up getting a package here today on my Patreon website, just keep in mind Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.